Yeah.
Oh my goodness, classic Nami. Well, actually, since we were actually bringing up the topic of weekly MDCs, both Cease wanted to talk about this, and then obviously, since we brought it up earlier, I was actually curious because I don't know this. Are MDCs going to have any use when obviously the expansion drops at all? Or are they just going to be basically useless currency that we're just going to have excess of?
I
You happen to
think
know?
I think they're just gonna stay the same way that they are currently. Like you'll still be able to get the Osis gear, but it's not necessarily much purchase like, at all.
Well, that is
Excuse me.
unfortunate. Well, I mean, as far as just having it as a consistent way of getting gear, I've always liked that. I always thought it was a huge step forward over the command crates, the RNG of just hopefully getting a piece. Hopefully, you get lucky this time, but the next time, like, I hate that. I prefer to just grind for something and then know for sure when I'm going to get it, because that also builds excitement. I've talked about it on the last one as well. So I do think that's a good thing. But as far as the objectives of MDC light quests, that I think that is up for a lot more interpretation. I think that's really just going to be on the devs to say, okay, we want you to do this content or that content. To be honest, I don't think it's a bad thing right now with what they have us do outside of GSF, because no one really plays GSF and nobody wants to learn how to play GSF. So obviously it's got its own community, but I'm not the biggest fan of GSF. To be honest, to me, it's always been a worse version of the original 2005 Star Wars Battlefront 2's space battle, so I just never played it.
I mean, it's. I would say stuff in the right direction. The only issue is that you're going from one evil to another, and I don't think either way is how you should be gearing. There's improvements they can make to NBCs to make it much better than what it is, but they didn't, and they won't be doing that.
Well, they have actually confirmed they're not doing that.
Yeah, they already confirmed that they're not making like legacy MDCs, which would make a huge difference. But that's pretty much not important anymore because this gear is just not going to be worthwhile. But for the most part, time-gated mechanics is basically what you're talking about. You will get the item; it'll just take time. I don't know personally. I think that is a terrible idea, and I don't like it.
Well, if you think about it, Cease, the RNG was basically taking the place of that time-gated content. Is just even worse. So even if
I
we
wouldn't
were
say it's
to,
worse.
well, regardless, it's still the same thing essentially. It's time gating you from getting the gear you want to do whatever you want next. I'm just saying I prefer MDCs because you actually have a goal and you know how close you are to that goal. I don't like the feeling of, oh, I just got lucky this week, so I got my piece. I don't like that feeling. It's way too much. It reminds me too much of the loot box gambling shit that we have so much in gaming right now, and I just don't like seeing that anywhere anymore. It's just obnoxious.
I mean, it is, but you can get more than just a couple of pieces with the previous system. Even when 200 command was the highest tier, you could still manage to get way more than 1 or 2 pieces a week. Or even less, you could even end up getting like 3 or 4 pieces. That's what I liked about that. Even though it was RNG, it was still manageable. And your unassembled components actually had an impact because you're getting it from whatever content you did, which there is a lot of content to do to get unassembled components. And you could buy that gear if you needed to. That was better fine-tuned later on when they introduced 248. The prices for these items became a little bit too obnoxious, if you ask me, making it not as RNG / time gated. It's more so just kind of like time consuming to get those pieces. I like that system. The only problem is I feel like that's just way too much.
Well,
Unassembled components. I feel like the value of like 100 unassembled components is nothing. A value of a max stack unassembled components is almost nothing. Like I'm sure people here have stacks of unassembled components that they do not use because they don't need that gear anymore, but I'm sure at the point when they did need gear, they still had a max stack, and that only got them a couple of pieces from 236 all the way up to 248.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Case, it just sounds like obviously you don't really like the MDC system right now, and I'm just saying it's been implemented better before as well. I'm gonna keep bringing up WoW because it did
Yeah.
it the best, but obviously back then you had two separate MDCs essentially. You had your Marks of Valor, and then you had your Marks of Honor, and or not honor, it was heroism actually, and you would get here Marks of Heroism from just doing dungeons. That's fine, right? And then Marks of Valor, you get once per day from one dungeon, or you can get them from raids. So you can get raid exclusive loot. It was basically separating it into two tiers, and one obviously works you towards more powerful gear, but it's also harder to get. Now, obviously, MDCs aren't like that. It's just, you do them, and you need the rep, and you need the gear to get the 258 gear, if I'm remembering it right. So
Yeah.
it's still a grind, absolutely. I just think there are ways to improve it where it's actually much more mixed between the both. I'm sure there's a way they can implement it as both a system from the command system and the MDC system. Like you can mix them both. I have no doubt about that. It's just they have to be creative about it. But at this point, since they've confirmed they're not doing anything with it, I don't think they will, which is unfortunate. And I just don't know how we're going to be gearing outside of what is it? The new thing they're calling Renown. I'm guessing that's going to be the way you gear.
Renown's supplement to the actual gearing system that's going to be coming. Um, the main thing that unassembled components has, or at least gearing wise from unassembled components plus Galactic Command over MDCs, was that legacy or unassembled components were legacy. Uh, MDCs are not, and that is personally I think the better choice. Like if had they make MDCs legacy bound and all of our alts contributed to one stockpile, I think that would have been great. And that would have made it not only alt friendly, but it would make the system just way much better because then you wouldn't have to wait a week to get a set piece. Maybe you only need one MDC and you're one piece away from finishing your gear. You could just get on a different alt and finish it up and be done. It's pretty rough. I don't like it for the most part.
Well, as far as that goes, honestly, I think that might be on the verge of too much hand holding again. Because obviously they're time gating it for a reason. Obviously, it's an advantage if you have an alt or a bunch of alts, but I don't think they want people to just instantly gear in a single day. I think that's bad no matter what content you're doing.
People couldn't gear in just one day, and they probably won't in the future. However, the renowned system is not really meant for gear, but what do you call it? The new tech fragments that we'll be using to buy gear will be gotten from everything. It'll be gotten from disassembling stuff from crafting. It'll be from raids, not dungeons, but flashpoints. Pretty much everything you do will give you these tech fragments, and they're legacy wide. So, going from the system we have now, I like that system way better than both previous systems because if somebody plays enough or does enough that's constantly doing something in game, whether it's crafting or just playing the game, they're going to pull ahead. That's not to say that they'll have like really an advantage because everybody else can also do the same thing. The only difference is that once they've got their set bonuses, or I guess the pieces that you would get with tech fragments, rolling for upgrades is still going to be RNG, which that's something I don't like. However, we have made it, at least made them change the way it works, because currently, I think it was that we could get greens and blues for some reason. I don't know why. And you couldn't extract those armoring spots or enhancements and put them in the set bonus gear. So you had to actually wear those to get your next upgrade. I don't know what they were thinking there, but now that that's not a thing anymore, you still have to go through the process of RNG going up, and I think that's probably the worst part of what's to come.
I mean, if I'm being honest, Cease, it's also to me just another case of the devs just don't play their game. And I don't mean like they don't play it at their job. I mean like they don't play it as a side activity, as a hobby. Because obviously, if you played it as a player, you would know that's an issue. Obviously, right? But a lot of cases recently, I would say a lot of devs they play their games, they test their games, but they're not really playing those games the way players do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're not in it for fun. They're obviously just doing it for a job, which is fine. But you can't expect to fix a problem that players are having if they're playing it for fun and you're just playing it as a job. You can't expect to get,
Yeah. I mean, that's more so about being open with the way you think. Uh, it's not something you would actually think about until you make like a system or a game for somebody. You have to then think about how can they abuse this? How can they cheat this? How can they find the most efficient way to make money off of this, etc. And you have to think of these ways and these problems that you'll run into while doing that. And I feel like a lot of devs don't do that, but a lot of those kinks do get worked out in like PTS phases and whatnot. But
yeah.
still, some things get through, and it's like, okay, so you guys don't play this game, you don't quite understand, but that's not always the case.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Bioware goes, we can give them a good defense concerning, it's a skeleton crew at this point. Like, I don't blame them for having a ton of bugs or having a lot of things slip past, because it's rough, man. I can totally understand that. As a skeleton crew that's not getting much of any money or even enough time to be put into the game itself to keep making content, like that's always tough. So I don't blame them for
But
that.
as for like the OSIS dailies, if they were ever to make them relevant again, I feel like the whole road boss thing, I don't like that at all, but I feel like if they lower the road boss requirement for the amount of people that you may need to actually kill it to maybe like, I don't know, 6 to 8 people or something like that instead,
It's
I
like a
think it would
normal
be
raid group or
much,
something.
yeah, I feel like it would make it much more manageable and people wouldn't be so dreaded about doing it. And you could actually get that out of the way a lot easier even at random hours because sometimes people don't have time to just play in the day and nobody's on.
Yeah,
I
well,
also
I
think
don't.
that
Oh, go ahead.
if that does happen, the currency is actually worth something. Let's say we get our gear and we don't have anything else to use this currency on. Hopefully, there's something we can spend this currency on to make money. So we still, even if we're max geared, we're still getting this currency and using it to make money. Currently, you can't really do that with unassembled components. All your unassembled components, unless you're buying gear and vendoring it, there's nothing you can do with them. They're just going to waste, which really sucks. Same with MDCs. I have like 10 MDCs now on my power tech, and I have nothing to do with them over on Shan. Those are going to go to waste because I don't have anything to do with them. I saw the decorations. I own pretty much all of them already, so there's a little point for me to even buy them. Plus, I think they're kind of overpriced.
Well, let's be honest. You play this game probably. You're probably. I wouldn't say in the top percentage, but you're probably up there in terms of playtime, right? So it's not a huge surprise that you, at the very least, have no reason to spend them on. Probably the majority of people will still have things to spend them on before the expansion drops. But once it drops, obviously, that's all going to be irrelevant anyway. So you are right there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people play a lot more than me. I
Well, maybe right
play
now, but
I
when
play pretty much when I'm streaming. That's the only time I'm playing Star Wars. I don't touch it off stream. It's not because I don't want to play. Sometimes I'll get on off stream to get like crafting, or I'll check the market because I want to. I don't really do much off stream, and every now and then I do. It's either video related and whatnot. But the thing is that with that time, most of my time's always spent PvPing, and if I can achieve what I am for PvPing, then somebody that's maybe constantly doing everything, it's a little bit different.
yeah,
So somebody doing like ops like Nami, for example, all the time, coming in the next expansion, or let's say that we just hit 5.0 all over again, these raids are going to give them gear way faster than we could get it from just PvP. So as for what to expect, you kind of just have to play the game a lot, and there's definitely a lot of people that play more than me. I just have been, I guess, consistent.
Yeah, well, when I say you play more than most people, I was probably referring to as soon as, all the patches hit, because that's when everyone's grinding for the gear. I figured you probably played the most during that amount of time. Probably more than others, if I'm being honest. I know for a fact I'm definitely not running 13 hammer stations in one day, or whatever ridiculous number you did.
It's more so about being efficient with your time. From the first week, I noticed that not only things are going to be time gated, but all my alts are going to be useful. Not in the traditional way of being useful, but they're going to be useful as in that they can buy my armorings and my basically the stat bonuses, but they can't buy me on the left side. So I'm a main character that I want to gear. I need to buy left hand side. My alts, I can buy the armor pieces and send them over. That was the
Yeah.
only thing I could do. So I pretty much just did dailies on all the characters, got the NPCs, and yeah, the master mid flashpoints. Unfortunately, I was forced into doing that, but it's the only way to get geared within the first month.
And we all know how much Cease hates PvE. I got you.
And it was like 43 master mid flashpoints. That was
Oh, I thought
first
you were going to
12
say
hours.
43 hammer stations. I was going to be like, oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. It was master mode flashpoints slash hammer
Nice.
station. It
Hammer stations
was
majority.
it was rough, but Netflix helped a lot.
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
wouldn't do it again, but the fact that it was like the very first time that you could get max gear, um, I wanted to do it because I just wanted that gear.
I mean, hey, the
Obviously
game pushed you
couldn't,
enough to do it, so it's a
yeah,
good thing.
obviously couldn't get main hand to offhand at that time, but I had gotten it like a week after, so that wasn't too bad.
Yep.
Um, but another thing that I did want to talk about is the way war zones work right now. I know a lot of people have probably noticed that not only Civil War pops a lot, Hubble pops a lot, and it's not just like um, maybe you queue up for 5 matches. You're probably going to see like 3 or 4 Hubbles and maybe a Civil War, because that's the majority of what your queue is going to get. And let's say that you're not a healer and somebody else is healing, and they get into these war zones and they don't want to play that map, so they leave. So then you're down without a healer, and whoever backfills for them is most likely going to be a DPS. And on the enemy team, let's say the enemy healer does want to play. So you're going against a healer without a healer on your team, and it makes these matches pretty bad. And then when people start leaving, the game isn't designed to uh, lock like at all. So if a lot of people leave, it'll say, all right, we have 30 seconds, and it'll close if nobody joins. However, it's looking for anybody, and I mean literally anybody, to backfill into this match. And let's say you're solo queuing and you're trying to get into a decent game, and then you get backfilled into that. You obviously don't want to play it, but you're gonna stop that game from closing because you joined and you backfilled. It doesn't lock. There's no mechanism to lock them, and those games are forced in them unless nobody is pretty much queued, which is a terrible, like super terrible experience for the people that actually are playing, because it's like a 4v8.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that happen to you repeatedly on your stream every time I watch. It's like, it's a constant thing. And to be honest, I know where you're getting this idea from. It's just the mercy rule from Destiny 2. And I'm just like, yeah, that should just be a thing. If the score gets too big or there's not enough players, just fucking mercy rule the game. Let the team that's winning win and then move on. You shouldn't have to worry about a crap game like that, because at that point the game isn't fun for anyone except for people just pub stomping. But even then, I'd argue it's probably not that fun searching for someone for 5 minutes, and then when you find them they instantly die, and then you gotta find them again. Like, that's not fun for anyone.
It's I feel like just having a locking mechanism after people have left, and/or just give us an option to queue for what we want to play. Like, give us an option, maybe like
Oh,
just like
absolutely.
4 or 5 war zones, and I think We probably couldn't just select one because that would fine point the queue a little too much and make pops take a long time. However, if we selected like 5 that we like, we only queued up for those 5, I feel like we'd have a much higher chance of getting something that we actually wanted to play. Therefore, people aren't leaving, and therefore you're not running into the problem of, hey, a healer got into my game, but he left because he didn't want to play this map. So now I don't have a healer, and you guys have a healer.
Yeah.
Like you won't run into that, which would be definitely amazing. I don't know why that's not a thing, especially with the fact that there's 3 hot balls and 2 civil wars, and there's just 1 of everything else. Like,
I mean, as far as vetoing maps go, I mean, that's been a thing in WoW for how many years now? And at most, you can only veto 3 maps, and then you queue for the rest. Or you can just single queue, like you said, but it also really elongates the amount of time you're in queue, but it'll definitely guarantee that you'll get the battleground you want at the very least. So there's ups and downs to it, but I am surprised that this game does not have that yet.
There's also another thing that they did post not too long ago about UI improvements and how they are reworking the UI systems a little bit. And since I'm not the one streaming, I can't particularly show you this, but if Nami was to unhide her UI and try to open the legacy panel or try to get into the legacy bank, for example, there is a stutter slash lag for most of these. And people with older computers or computers not as powerful as like Nami's, for example, or somebody else's, you will definitely notice the lag. And that's all because of the optimization between all the UI. There's like several different layers of UI in the game, and it's definitely not optimized. So I'm really happy that they're going to try to improve that and make it more optimized overall. And one thing I would like to see if they do that is to give a toggle for the light versus dark banner that always shows up, and maybe the medalist advertisement for doing conquest. I am so tired of seeing that. It's not terrible, but it's like you're showing up in the middle of my screen. I actually look there
Can you
frequently.
please not show up? I'm doing something. Yes, thank you.
I mean,
I was actually
like,
just
you don't
complaining about
even
that Destiny 2 as well.
you
Sorry,
don't
go ahead.
even need those tokens, like the light versus dark tokens. You can buy some stuff. I've already bought all the stuff like, for collecting purposes. I have no reason to use any of those tokens. I don't need those tokens, so I don't need to care whether the light or the dark side's winning. It doesn't matter to me. And doing conquest and get medalists or whatever, that doesn't do anything but create lag inside the war zone that I'm in, and I just don't know why it's there. It shouldn't be there. Personally, I think conquest is not something I'm particularly worried about, especially when I am in a PvP match, for example. I also have that maybe they could add a resource bar to our nameplates. So if you play with nameplates on, like nameplate on self, and you also have always show resolve bar, you'll have a regular bar of HP above your head, and then you'll have a resolve bar that goes into 4 segments underneath your health bar. They could obviously, if they have the resolve bar set up like that, they can most likely put a resource bar right underneath the health bar and then push the resolve bar just a little bit further down. So you could probably see your resource above your head. I don't know why they never did this in the first place, but I think it'd be really cool because if they did do that, then I could turn off my UI and I could literally play the game without UI because I wouldn't need to see anything but my resource. That's the main reason why I have my UI on. Also to mostly see cooldowns, like know exactly when something comes off cooldown. Another ideal I thought would be maybe have a non-interactable, what do you call it? Toolbar, I guess you could say, and put your abilities on it. But obviously there's a fading system with the UI. You can fade things out to make it pretty much see-through. If we had a toolbar that was not non-interactable or an option to make it non-interactable, that means that we could make our own like cooldown strip and be able to click through it so it's not really affecting us. Because currently we can do that. However, if you accidentally click there or whatever, it'll mess up your camera and you'll probably click and drag the thing off if you have your
Gotta
If it
lock
weren't
that shit.
locked, yeah, if you have it locked, then it won't happen. But you might accidentally activate said ability, and that's just kind of awkward. Especially if you're trying to
I'm
move your camera and you click on it, you're not moving your camera, and that's a big thing.
yeah. I mean, all the things you're saying are obviously really nice to have, but I think they would all kind of fall under quality of life things. I'm glad they are optimizing the UI because I agree. I feel that legacy lag as well when you open that legacy tab. That is
Yeah,
annoying, and I think it's
right.
even there for the what do you call it, the Control G. I don't know,
Yeah,
it's not that bad, but it's still kind of there.
the
So
hanger also has lag. It's
yeah,
not tied to just quality of life. I think it's some of it, yeah, like the result, or not the result, but the resource burn. That's more so something I've been wanting for forever. However, the whole medalist and the light versus dark creates a lot of lag in war zones. It's more tolerable now that I have a computer that can handle it. However, I know that not everybody does, and that creates a considerable amount of lag, especially when there's already lag in a war zone. That just
yeah.
adds on top of it, and it really just shouldn't be there.
I mean, just adding an option for it. Obviously, that sounds easy. I don't know how easy that is, but just giving an option would be well received. That's for sure. We'd be thanking you, Bioware, if you are listening for that. And that goes with a lot of things that sometimes we request as far as quality of life goes. Sometimes it is just an option tweak we'd like, and that would just be, that's all we want sometimes, just to make the game play smoother, run smoother. Sometimes that's enough to get us to keep playing, but obviously that's not everything. So
I was gonna say, I think everybody has. If you were to ask every single, they probably everybody has like a little. This was again. It's. I think it's a lot of it. But as far as the lag, I totally get that because I do PvP and sometimes it's just, or even like with regard to the world bosses, you brought that up about minimizing so that you can, you know what I mean, to different groups. That would be great because I know for some people they just can't in a 40 man they just can't handle handle the lag. Even myself, when I have a pretty good computer, I will lag, especially at the bug section. It's because
to
there's
be
so many
honest, I think
ads.
that's more on I think that's more on the game's optimization more than anything. I don't think that has anything to do with your computer because you can run Destiny 2 just fine, and that is so much more pretty than this game. I'm not gonna lie, and it can handle
Um,
tons of crazy effects. So much better.
that is true, but the difference between like Destiny 2 and this game is that this game has a lot more effects, and not just effects. There are personal effects like set bonus, like hey, you just triggered your auto crit, or hey, you just got destruction proc, or whatever. All those things also render on your screen. So
Yeah,
all
well, I'm
those
also
effects
saying
stack
that
up
you also have
per
to
player.
remember, Cease, that these games were also built on two different engines, and we all
Yeah,
know Star Wars' engine does not compare to Destiny 2, so,
I feel
that's
like it
also
could
kind of a
be
big thing.
smoothed out. For
Yeah,
sure. I feel like
absolutely.
Star Wars could be in the same position, but there's just so many effects that are rendered that don't need to be. If we had an option to remove other players' effects or dumb it down, or I don't know, some sort of auto optimization whenever you trigger more than, I don't know, 10 people on your screen constantly doing something, like make the animations go down. Obviously, in PvP, you would not want this because this would make a difference of whether you actually know what they're doing or not because you can't really see it. That creates issues, but for the most part, if there was an option to turn that down, that would be great. Obviously, for 60-man rates, that would be a little bit more rough because you kind of need to see what's going on, but at the same time, I feel like there's something they could probably do there to optimize that. But for like 40 men, that's just completely obnoxious that you have to render everybody plus the mobs and plus their debuffs. It's
It's a lot of
super
work.
unnecessary.
So I have with me today our guest is Azzy, and he is actually in the UK. So it's kind of getting late for him. So what I was thinking was getting Azzy going now before he falls asleep over here on the table with me. Who's winning, Azzy? So let's go ahead and get Azzy into the channel. Azzy, if you
Where did the...
can.
Okay, go ahead.
if you can join us in the server, that would be wonderful. You know how to get in. You're part of my admin. So hopefully, let me message him just in case he's AFK because I said back in 5 minutes. Back now.
I mean, I figured you messaged him right before you started talking.
Yeah, you would have thought that's what I would have done. I thought he's probably here right across from me, but I just did ask him to join in voice. But, yeah, I don't know. I still love this game so much, so I don't know. I'm
I mean, kind
liking
of
how
going
it
off
is.
topic for a little bit, Nami. I did hear you and RJ talk about since you guys were going through the story again. I thought that was pretty cool, to be honest. I didn't enjoy you guys talking about it because you were just repeating the same thing to each other, and that got kind of annoying. But as far as replaying the game again, just to re-experience the stories, I agree. It is definitely it's a one of a kind experience. Honestly, I think only BioWare can really deliver because we used to have good storytelling developers, but they kind of all wandered off at this point and gone and done some greedy shit and shady shit at this point. So I'm just, I'm not trusting them. So I'm kind of glad this game's still around as a relic at the very least to kind of hold BioWare's old storytelling, like for the Mass Effect days and the Dragon Age days, and even the Star Wars: The Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic. Like those were all great games, great storytelling games as well. I'm glad this thing's still alive, which I am impressed that it's still alive. Let's be real. I thought this game would be dead by now.
It's far and few for storytelling, but it's definitely still there. I think the mentality for the most part is that if it doesn't make money, it's not worth doing.
I mean,
And
I remember when
it's a huge problem.
yeah, as when this game came out, I heard there was like an article saying that this was probably one of the most expensive MMOs out there just because of how many lines were recorded for this game. Like I heard there was over 1 million lines. So
$200 million spent in
yeah,
cinematics and
it's
voice acting.
crazy, dude. So, this game definitely put time into its story, and it definitely kept the game alive for a while. But one of the biggest problems I remember, I think Cease, you probably remember this as well, is once people got to the end game when this game first launched, because obviously they beat the story, they said it was cool. Then it was kind of like, well, what do we do now? Because some people don't want to do PvP, some people don't want to do raids. Sometimes the game kind of forces you to kind of be on that strict, I would say single player element for a while, and then it's just like, okay, you can do whatever now. But you know, and Bioware's response at the time was just, "Oh, just make another character." Obviously, some people don't like that because they want to stick to their main. It's just kind of iffy. Oh,
Yeah,
there he is.
I am. I'm really enjoying going through the storyline again with Arjar and Aramel. It's been a long time. I mean, I rushed through all the stories uh, when I did it. Like I said, it was 2.5 years ago. So it's really refreshing. I think it's something for me personally. It's something that is new, even though it's not new. Something to go back and do 6.0. So that as well as NIM rating. Wow. But anyway, we have Azzy here. Oh my God. I'm so excited to have you here, Azzy. How are you doing? I see you made it over here. Hello? Hey, Azzy?
He's
Uh,
not there. He's not there out of
he's
10. He's
not
still
there.
drowning in the lava.
He's still drowning in the lava. I don't know why he's not here. Do we have technical difficulties?
There we go. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, now
Oh,
we
there
can
we go.
hear you.
Thank you very much for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, how are you? I see you made it over here without dying.
Yeah, I died quite a few times actually, but I got myself a med pack and just sprinted through
Oh,
and got there in the end.
well, you made it here. I thought I was going, well, I was all ready to summon you. But I want you to introduce yourself.
uh, yeah, I hadn't really prepared much, but I'm Azzy. I do lore and RP and stuff. I can link my website if that's alright with Nami.
Actually, I already have it on a command. If you type exclamation Azilori, it should pop up. That will be a direct to your website.
Oh,
Let me do it really quick. Azilori.
Thank you.
There you go. There's Azzy's website. Pretty impressive.
Thank you very much.
So I'll go ahead and go along and get you started with some questions. So how long have you been playing SWTOR?
Um, on and off since launch, really, but I only started properly again, I'd say about 2 years ago. Um, yeah.
And how did you find out about them?
Well, at the time of launch, there was a lot of hype about it, but then I lost interest quite quickly in the first few months. But then, yeah, I came back, and yeah, I've enjoyed it more or less. I've been playing it for the last 2 years or so.
And I know this answer, but what other games do you like to play?
Um, so I've got a very slow computer, so I'm quite restricted to the games that I can play at the moment. But um, thanks to Nami, I've been looking into Guild Wars 2 recently, which is it's very different to SWTOR.
That's an understatement, I'd say.
Yeah, it has its merits. I mean, the story is nothing near as good in my opinion, but
I'll agree on
the
that, to be
end.
honest. Guild Wars 2 story, to me, it's kind of a joke, but you just kind of do it to get some gear and to get to level 80, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, I was kind of disappointed. There wasn't much war between the races, and I was expecting more of that, but there's quite a lot of dragons and yeah.
You gotta kill dragons, man. What do you mean?
Now, do you
Most
have
of that,
in? Oh, go ahead.
most of that was buried in lore. I don't know if you've watched any lore videos about Guild Wars 2, but there is tons and tons of lore. There's also in-game lore.
Yeah.
It's the huge giant walls of text.
I love text.
Now, do you have any other interests, as the sites like gaming, like hobby?
Um. Well, I'm a student in England, as you might be able to hear with my accent, but
I'm
uh,
loving it.
I like to play a bit of football.
Wait, can I
Yeah,
stop you there? What kind of football are we talking about here? Are we talking about
Oh,
EU?
soccer.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was
yeah,
saying.
real football.
I was gonna say it's definitely not American football.
Oh no, no.
It'd be more like soccer, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, so you're going to school. So how many? I mean, do you have years to go, months to go?
I've got till the end of this year. I haven't decided what I'm going to do
Oh, okay.
properly when I leave, but
What are you majoring in?
it's slightly different in the UK. So you go to school until you're 16, and then you have 2 years of what's known as sixth form college, where so you go and you specialize in three subjects. I was interested in doing medicine, but that's fallen through.
Any particular reason?
It's like the blood.
You just lost interest?
Yeah, I think I just lost interest. My momentum just kind of stopped. Yeah, so I'm looking into biochemistry at the moment.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. Now, these days, how many hours do you play SWTOR?
Um, it's very variable. Often at the weekends, I can play about 3 hours a day ish, and then on the weekdays it varies quite a lot. But due to being quite busy in the day, often it's not until after 10 o'clock in the evening or later,
That's right.
which works quite well given I play on an American server. So
Oh yeah, true, true. Do you play on the? That's a good question. Do you play on the EU server like Darth Malgus?
I played there for a bit, but yeah, I then just kind of naturally moved over to American servers. I can't remember which. I was on the Red Eclipse before, and then when the servers merged, I moved to Satil Shah, which is obviously American.
Right.
And then about a year ago, I moved to Starforge with my guild.
And so, what would you say your favorite activity?
Oh, I don't know. I enjoy lots of lots of aspects. I definitely enjoy doing RP with my guild, but as far as as far as in-game activities are concerned, I like to do operations casually. I'm happy to try harder ones, but I honestly prefer ones that you die a lot and just having fun with guildmates, really.
Yeah,
All
you've been
getting
in.
drunk and getting killed in an op. Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, yeah, he's you've been in some of the ops I've ran, or at least one, or I know for sure one, maybe a couple. Then we ran some flashpoints, I think, for the crystal or something. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, uh, let's go back to your guild. So tell me what you do for your guild, because you're an officer, aren't you? Guild.
Yeah, I'm recruitment officer for the amazing Remnants of Hope. Um, yeah, it's just such an amazing community. So it's quite a bit of work involved in that role, but it's really nice to see members progressing through a fairly unique recruitment process.
And can you let everybody know whose guild that is?
Um, well, I don't know if you mean whose guild it is or who is in that guild that people might know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this is Swotorista's guild as such. Although the current guild leader of the entire community is Revanite. I don't know if he might be watching. Uh,
Well, if he is, he hasn't said anything. Don't worry though, Shortorista's here for you. She's got your back.
I know I'm not in. I'm not in stream chat. I should go check if people are laughing at me or not yet.
Are they
No.
laughing at you?
Come
All
on,
right.
dude. I mean, if they're gonna laugh at anyone, it's gonna be me and Cease just yelling at each other.
Or me. Or me. Not stopping it. No, I'm just kidding. So, what would you say your proudest accomplishment in Sword Tour has been?
um, I honestly don't know. Do you mean in game or?
Yeah, in game, like for example, like I can say, like recently, like my big accomplishment, I have now downed 4 raids, 4 separate ones. Say, so like that's an accomplishment to me as well as some others. But what would you say? Like, just name off some accomplishments where you said, "Oh my God, I remember this moment. This was a great moment."
Most of my memorable moments probably involve spending an ungodly amount of credits on decorations. If there was an achievement for number of credits spent on decorations in an hour, I think I'd have all of them.
Really?
Did you at least decorate your stronghold with them?
Yeah, but I'm really bad with decorating because then I get bored and I just empty out all the things and yeah.
Then it's an
Come on,
empty
man.
stronghold again. You're like, I need to buy more decos. I don't have enough. I don't know where to put this. It took me a long time to get my Narshada done, and that's the only one. I mean, I have them all, but I remember back. Do you remember back? I want to say back in the day, but it wasn't that long ago. That in order to get your 25% stronghold bonus for one, you had to have it
I remember
hundred
this.
Yeah.
percent decoed, and so I bought all six. Well, I bought six, right? And I hung up all the class signs. Like I had to go and switch everything to small wall, and then I just, even still to this day, some of my strongholds have like all the flipping, what do you call it,
Yeah, it's
signs
like
and
the
all that stuff. I have not
crafting
gone
nodes and
back.
stuff.
But I gotta tell you, that 150% conquest bonus, stronghold bonus, really helped. Otherwise, I would never, I don't think, complete as much conquest on all my tunes. So thank God for the 150, but also thank God that you don't actually have to decorate it again, because that's tedious. So a lot of people, if you don't know about that, by the way, if you buy a stronghold and unlock it, fully unlock it, the you know what I mean, the additions, the unlocks,
Yeah.
you will get 25% conquest bonus. And let me tell you, if you are doing conquest, which you're going to be doing, especially in the next expansion, if not right now, it really does help. It really does. Like I can do one planet of heroics, and I've already made my personal. Um, so okay, so you like decorating, but then you get bored of it. So you have all these fancy decos um,
Yeah.
that you need to go plant everywhere. Now, um, are there any changes or recommendations you'd like to see in the game? I mean, I know 6.0 is coming up. I'm sure you've read a lot about it. Very connected that way. But is there anything that you would like to see that could
Um,
change?
there's always lots of stuff I'd like to see. I mean, I want a stronghold for every planet now I think about it, but
More place for those
kind of,
decos.
yeah. Kind of tying into Swotorista's question that she popped in chat. Um, there's lots of planets that I want to see new. I was really happy to see Ondron released, obviously. Um, but yeah, things like
Beautiful.
Kashyyyk, I'd love to see Kashyyyk at some point. Um, yeah. Are there any planets that aren't in SWOTOR that you'd like to see, Nami?
Um, actually, I don't know. I'm not very good that way. I'm more
Can
a
I answer for
follower.
her?
I am more, yeah, I'm more of a follower. So, for example, I want to explore Onderon. I mean, I saw Teresa on there. I have yet to go check out the new raid there. But yeah, I like exploring places. That's one of my goals is to explore every part maps on Star Wars, and I haven't been able to do that. But I'm on this.
Yeah.
I want to do every single mission, and I mean everything, exploration, lore, everything. So much that I miss, and I think that this game has a lot. It's just you actually have to not hit spacebar. You don't have to be in such a rush to get to the end game. I mean, it's taking time
Yeah.
and
I
exploring.
need
There is
to like
so much.
sellotape my spacebar down so I can't hit it.
I mean, it is really, really, really enjoyable back through. I mean, I wanted to get a Guardian of Satil on, and I am really having fun. I mean, literally, some of the dialogue, I was sitting there conflicted how to answer. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to answer this. Like, I sat there waiting, and I just like that experience. A lot of missions that I skipped that I did not do. So I have yet a lot to game in it. So I'm just excited for 6.0 to come. I'm kind of in the fall. And however long it takes for release, just like everybody else is. Now, would you say you've seen any significant changes in the game since it started since launch? There's got to have been a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when I came back about, as I say, 2 years ago, it was like playing a different game altogether. Um, but yeah, I mean, it changed infinitely. Um, but yeah, I think there's still a lot of room for change in the game. I don't think it's on its way out in any way, shape, or form. I think some people might agree that there should be perhaps a bit more focus on endgame operations, PvP, stuff like that. Um, I definitely like to see a better open world PvP kind of setup. I wouldn't know how that would work, but I'd just like to see something how we've got in ESO or Guild Wars 2.
That you at least had the option. Is that what you're
Yeah.
Are you talking about like Warcraft where you are on a
Well, yeah, just like a map that's more open. Like war zones feel quite enclosed, and there's only what 8 people per team. It would be nice to have a bit more of a battle and more strategy to
Oh,
some of the
Azzy, you know
PvP
what?
maps.
I feel like you're asking for a new winter grasp because that was actually a thing in Wrath of the Lich King, and that's always the zone now he's complaining about. Because if you fly over while battle's going, it knocks you off your flying mount. But it was a Horde versus Alliance battle to take this fortress, right? You're
yeah.
either defending
Yeah,
it or you're attacking it, obviously. And if you're just asking for something like that, I think it would be a good idea, to be honest. Just have a
Absolutely.
reason for players to be there, and they will be there.
Oh yeah, I'd
yeah,
go into
definitely.
Wintergrasp. Not only that, they had some really good crafting. Some ore that was all around Wintergrasp. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's always a PvP contested zone, so they needed to increase the wards. So if you wanted to farm, you were always at risk.
yeah. I loved it. I loved Wintergrasp. I just love that whole expansion. But yeah, that's a good point. Gosh, that is something that I would love to see actually in the future. Because, I mean, when the Gree event comes, I mean, you have the open world right there. And that's always fun. I've been up there. I don't know if Score, if you were with me. But I went up there and I was the healer. I was on my trooper, my commando healer. And I was healing people. But it was pretty fun, I must
Wait,
admit.
where? Where are you
Uh,
talking about?
I'm sorry, here, not in, WoW, in Gree, the Gree event.
Yeah, I
Would be
know. I
held.
mean, where on Illo?
Right in the center. Dead center. It's an open world PvP.
You mean dead center in the Gree zone, where you're doing all the Gree dailies, or are you just talking about on
Yeah,
Illo in
Yes.
general?
No,
Okay.
no, no. It's right in the center. It
yeah.
was
It's
like
just like
this.
the center of the heroic zone, but
It's just open world
Gotcha.
PvP. So, that's 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 actually was really fun for me. Okay, so let's go. Let's move on now to um in this community. So I'll speak about the. Who would you say that you've been inspired by?
oh wow,
That's a
so many
landmine. That's a
people.
landmine. Be careful, dude.
um, yeah, well, for starters, definitely you. You've been a massive influence, just keeping positive, and yeah, I mean, you enabled me to play a game that I'd otherwise not be able to play. Um, yeah, but there's lots of other people too. I mean, Swotorista, she's been a massive influence. How she manages to maintain such good connections with the entire community and all of her fan base is amazing. Um, but yeah, possibly my biggest influence is my guild. They've definitely always been there for me, and yeah.
Is there anybody that you've inspired?
Um, I wouldn't want to assume. I don't know. Um, perhaps, perhaps there is. I don't know.
I'm sure you have.
Just say Sly. I think she's asking for it.
Yeah, Sly's like me.
Oh yeah, I inspired Sly that one time.
That one time I inspired Sly. Sly's a wonderful, wonderful mod of mine and love her dearly. Um, Now, is there anything you feel you could do to make this community even a better one than it currently?
um, I don't know. I don't think I've got a massive influence over the community or anyone as such, but I'd like to think I can help by doing little things, just small acts of kindness will help improve the community.
Absolutely, everybody. And
Yeah, definitely.
you certainly do, like with your guild mates. I know for sure because Sly, I mentioned to Sly who I was interviewing this week, and she was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" She's like, "What time? What time?" So I know you've definitely inspired her. So that's at least one, wouldn't you say, Sly? Now, you have your own website, so if you want to type exclamation Azilori, you will get a link to his or I'm sorry, not no, your website, not your YouTube. I'm so sorry about that. Now, are there any projects or events that you'd like to host or be part of future?
Um, at the moment, I'm working on hundreds of different roleplay things that I start and then forget to finish. Um, I've got. I'm working on uh, a small planetary lore video with Swotorista, which should happen at some point between now and Onslaught. Um, yeah, just a handful of small things.
Oh, you're pretty busy.
Yeah.
Now, I see Sweet Teresa asked, what types of lore interest you most?
Uh, I try to just learn anything that I don't already know about Svotor lore. There's loads of stuff that will surprise you. Just the wealth of races and cultures, and uh, yeah, it's just such an expansive lore base. There's always something to catch your interest.
Okay, Ezzy, I actually have a question for you, and this is kind of out there, so don't worry about it if you don't want to take it too seriously. There have been hints about an Old Republic trilogy, being a thing. If that's the case, is there something specific you'd like to see?
Yeah, I've been following that quite a lot. I think the hints at it have been very subtle and perhaps slightly exaggerated, but it's definitely something that I would love to see. Um, yeah, if they did um, do an Old Republic trilogy, I'd prefer them to focus on the KOTOR section. So obviously a fair bit before SWOTOR took place.
So,
Um,
do you think it'd be easier to kind of do it the Kotor route? Because obviously you have Revan, and then you just kind of follow his story.
yeah, I think there's a lot more in that era that the fan base would be interested in. Um, just big Sith and Jedi Sith wars and Mandalorian wars. There's generally a lot more going on in that time, although it seems like it's a very busy time in the SWOTOR era. There's not much solid that you could make a movie out of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Now, Sweet Teresa asks, why did you volunteer for recruitment officer guild?
Oh, that's a tough one. um, well, I was actually asked at the time because um, our old SWOTOR recruitment officer, who did an amazing job, I think he was officer for almost 2 years, he stepped down. and there wasn't anybody to fill the gap at that exact time, so I stepped up, and then I thought, yeah, I'll just carry on with this.
Now, would you like to, since you can, in mine, since you're a mod of mine, do you want to go ahead and put the link if anybody else would like to, since you're a recruiting officer, that if anybody is interested in joining the guild, where they should go?
Oh yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie, it's a very unique recruitment process, very different to a lot of guilds in the game.
Can
But yeah,
we get a
it's...
TLDR?
What was that, sorry?
Can we get a TLDR of said recruitment process? You're piquing my interest.
um, yeah, so it's a very community-based guild, as in there's a multi-guilding policy which we prefer that you spend most of the time with us, because as a kind of moral we prefer to recruit members instead of individual characters.
Which makes sense, because you don't want, I mean, a guild full of all these alt set, someone joined but weren't really even active in. You're trying to build a community.
Yeah,
That's what a guild
yeah,
pretty much is. Yeah, wants to be
uh-huh,
or should be. I'm sure, especially like me being a guild leader, I mean, you want people to be active and you want to be able to see them when you get online. And a lot of times you're just, can I get a guild invite? And then you never see them again, type of thing, and they're
yeah,
sitting there. So
yeah. So we've got a 2 week trial period in which you've got several objectives, and that includes in-game objectives as well. So it's not much, but just so that we can see that you're happy to invest some time and into the community.
that makes sense. Otherwise, you'd have a bajillion people there and more.
Yeah,
It's a family. Like Sly's family.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, Sly's been great. She's a crafting assistant, so she does these great big posts every week where she calculates everybody's conquest scores that get over 15,000 in the guild. So she puts loads of time and effort into providing rewards and making a big leaderboard.
Nice. Well, Sly asked, when you were a crafting assistant, you started a stronghold contest. What is your favorite thing about decorating a stronghold? Besides buying all the decos.
Yeah, like often I'll decorate strongholds for roleplay purposes, or I mean, often I'll just decorate something and just sit in that room for a while. But yeah, I like decorating, and I like looking at what other people decorate. Um, I've got a good screenshot of the last of our guild's last stronghold competition that I ran. I can pop that in your Discord channel.
Okay, you can put it under screenshots. That's fine. But yeah, is there anything you would like to say to everyone?
Um, there's not really much that you haven't covered. Just thank you so much for having me on today. It's been a great honor.
Oh
Um,
no, you're
yeah, all three of you.
very welcome. Very, very welcome. You're such a charming individual with an awesome accent.
I agree. We need you back here more often.
Scores like, so are you free next Sunday? Is there
No reason.
is there any other questions for Azzy? Let's go ahead and put your website back out there. For you guys, check out his website. Let's make sure. All right, there we go. If you want to learn more Is there any way, so they can get a hold of you through my Discord if you're in mine, but you have your own Discord server, Azzy?
I do, yeah. I could provide a link in the stream if that's all right with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I think I'm in your Discord. So yeah, go ahead and put a link if you want to join Azzy's Discord server. You can, if you have any questions, or even if you're interested in joining the guild and you have any questions about it. Um, he's the
Yeah,
recruitment
definitely.
officer. That's the man you want to talk.
Whoops, I just realised that I logged out of game because I hadn't
I
put
was
in
wondering when you were gonna notice.
I didn't even notice. I'm bad. So yeah, it's like you don't have any other questions for Azzy, your guild mate,
Guild matey.
guild matey.
I got a question for you. How is the whole RP experience? Because I've never really got into that.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it. There's just such a wide range of possibilities in SWTOR. Just the maps and the costume possibilities and just all of it is, yeah, you can really formulate any story if you're doing it in game, or we do lots of forum RPs in the guild as well.
That's really cool.
Now, does somebody actually write out a script?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
often we will, yeah. Often it's less scripted if it's in game, but obviously it's all scripted if it's not.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my co-lead actually uh, does RP. I just like scoring
Yeah, I
him.
think I'm in their server actually.
Oh, Tess. Yeah,
Yeah.
Legolas. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's just, because they're always like, okay, I'm off to RP unless you need me. I'm like, nope, fine. We're good. We're good. Oh, Sly goes, Azzy, you want to raid tonight? It's pretty late for
Oh, I
Azzy.
actually can't. I went preferred the other day, so until I can afford a sub, I'm afraid I won't be raiding Sly.
Well, I am going to gift you a sub then. So I'll give you a.
Azzy, what have you
You
done?
don't have to do that.
I know I don't have
Azzy,
to.
you should know better.
Yeah. How long have
Oh,
you been following me? I think I'll get you a 90-day sub, so at least we'll keep you
What have
going.
you
that's so
done?
sweet.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. You gotta be there to raid with us, or at least Sly.
I
I
know.
think
Well,
the
now I
stipulation
have
with
no
the
excuse. So
And you
yeah, I was
have
gonna
to
say the stipulation with the 90 days is you got to raid tonight or else.
you have to raid tonight or else. No, but I mean, I want you to be subs so that when 6.0 rolls around, I mean, if it takes another 30, 60, well, obviously 30 days, but even 60, you never know when they decide to actually roll it out. And I mean, I've spoken to other people like that, and they've complained like, "Oh my God, it was supposed to get out," blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "Look, I don't want anything rolled out until it's ready to be rolled out. So, however long it takes, I'm going to still hit play button whether that 6.0 never drops or not. I'm enjoying the game. But yeah, of course, I would like to see it here sooner than later. But,
yeah, it was quite funny actually. A guildmate dropped into chat today thinking that it was the 22nd of September it dropped, which is
oh,
obviously today.
oh,
So they were getting all
gotcha.
excited in general chat until somebody told them that
Oh, they're
it's a
like,
month
sorry,
to
you're a
go.
month early. Come back next month.
Yeah.
Aw. Well,
That must have been painful.
yeah, can you
Yeah,
imagine? Yeah. Because you're like
yeah. They were
waiting for
asking
something to
like,
drop.
oh, yeah, they're saying, oh, I know it's today, but what time today? Uh,
You're
yeah,
like,
so a month.
not today, buddy. Yeah, Azzy being in a different time zone, it is hard to make some of the U.S. raids for sure. But he's been able to make like some of ours. which is like at 5
Yeah.
or something. But my raids, for any of you guys who do, since we're talking about raids, I generally run a story mode raid, and it's open for everyone. So, I mean, anybody come. It's not just specific for guild. I just want everybody wants to have that experience and are wanting to get into the experience. So, anyways, if there's no other questions for Azzy, I'm gonna let you go to sleep. And I
Thank you
will.
very much for having me again.
Oh no, my pleasure. Thank you for being here and accepting it. I will send you a. I'll send you the code after I'm done with the podcast. So you'll have it
Oh,
tomorrow or later on today, whatever. I mean, if you're going to bed
that's
now.
so sweet.
Oh
Thank
no,
you so much.
very welcome. My pleasure. Got to keep you in the game. No restrictions. I believe that's what everybody should try to do. Yeah, if anybody has a problem with sub or whatever, just go ahead and message me in a Discord message. Whatever, I'll see what I can do about it.
Alright, thank you. Do you want me to hop out of here now?
Okay. Enjoy.
Thanks for coming on,
Enjoy
Azzy.
your night, Azzy. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you. Thanks all three of you.
Yep. Oh, he's gone.
He's gone.